dive in. She took the red umbrella. That's how I knew she wasn't coming back. It wasn't raining. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky. But she grabbed it anyway, like it was some silent message. A declaration. Laurel hated that umbrella. Said it clashed with her style. Said it was too loud. But there she was, standing at the door, holding it like a weapon, dressed like she was going to brunch with God. I asked, "Where are you headed?" She said, "Out." I said, "With who?" She blinked. "Why does it matter?" I nodded, took a breath that felt like it could choke me. And I said, "All right, go ahead. But the moment you step out that door, our marriage is finished. Don't ever think about coming back." She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stared at me, smiled like I was adorable, and walked out. She didn't even close the door all the way. Just let it drift shut behind her. I stood there, waiting for her to change her mind. For her heels to come clacking back up the hall. For her to say it was all a test, or a joke, or temporary madness. But then I saw the Uber pull away from the curb. And the red umbrella? It was gone. She had planned this. The bag was already packed. Her charger was missing from the nightstand. And when I checked the fridge, the chocolate mousse she always forgot I liked was gone, too. The silence in the house grew louder by the minute. I wandered into the bedroom, pulled open the bottom drawer, and found a single envelope with my name scrawled across it in her handwriting. No explanation. No confession. Just 3 sentences. "Don't follow me. Don't call me. You warned me." That's how Laurel left me. With an umbrella and a warning I meant more than she expected. But that was only the beginning. Because 2 days later, her sister called crying. And that's when the Rachelheheh story started unraveling. 2 days passed. The house felt like a museum dedicated to someone who never really existed. Her scent still clung to the pillows. Her hair tie was wrapped around the bathroom faucet, and the silence. It gnawed at me like a slow leak under the floorboards. I kept going to the kitchen like I was going to run into her there, asking which movie she wanted to fall asleep to. But there was nothing. Just a cold kettle and my own pathetic reflection in the microwave door. Then the phone rang. It was Harper, Laurel's older sister. The one who always smiled too big and whispered too quietly. I hadn't spoken to her in months. I picked up thinking maybe Laurel had asked her to call and say something cruel, some kind of closure message, maybe a final punch to the gut. But the second I said hello, all I heard was sobbing. "She's gone, Curtis," Harper choked out. "Gone as in no one knows where she is." My chest tightened. "What do you mean no one knows?" "She left. She's with someone. She planned this." "No," Harper said. "She left a note for Mom. It just said don't wait up. She never came home. She never checked into work. Her phone's been off. We don't even know who she left with." I sat down so hard the chair scraped against the tile. I should have felt something. Fear, anger, relief. But instead, I felt dizzy. Because if Harper was telling the truth, Laurel hadn't just walked out on me. She vanished. She didn't even take her passport, Harper whispered. "But she took your old college hoodie." That sentence broke something in me. That hoodie had holes in the sleeves and still smelled like cheap detergent. She used to steal it when she was mad at me, said it was her emotional armor. Why would she take that now? Then Harper asked the question that still echoes in my head. "Curtis, is there something you're not telling me? Someone she could be running from?" I didn't answer, because suddenly I wasn't sure anymore. And when I checked the guest room later that night, the floorboard under the rug was pulled up. Inside was a small locked box, one I had never seen before, one she had hidden beneath our feet for who knows how long. And that's when I realized I had no idea who I was married to. I stared at the box like it might grow legs and walk away. It was black, scratched at the corners, and cold to the touch, like it had been hiding under there longer than I'd even lived in this house. No key, no lock I could pick, just a weight to it that felt more emotional than physical. My heart was pounding before I even touched it, like my body already knew what my brain didn't. I don't know how long I sat with it before grabbing a screwdriver and prying it open like a madman. The top finally gave with a metallic pop, and what I found inside wasn't what I expected. Not money, not some burner phone, not anything that made immediate sense. It was a collection of items that felt random until they didn't. First, a faded photograph of Laurel sitting on the hood of a blue car I'd never seen. She was laughing, barefoot, wearing jeans I knew she hadn't owned since college. Standing next to her was a man I didn't recognize, tall, dark hair, one arm slung around her like they belonged to each other. He had a scar down the side of his jaw, and wore a necklace with a small gold coin. Laurel had never mentioned him once. Next, there was a hotel keycard. Not from the one I found the receipt for earlier, but from a place across the state. Somewhere in a town neither of us had ever visited together. Then a folded letter, yellowed at the edges, addressed not to me, but to someone named Wyatt. It wasn't signed. It was typed. Just one paragraph. I've done what you asked. He suspects nothing. I need more time before I can disappear completely. Don't contact me again until I say so. That's when it hit me. Laurel wasn't just cheating. She had a whole second life. A life with someone named Wyatt. A man she owed something to. A man who was instructing her to vanish. My mouth went dry. I stumbled into the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, gripping the sink so hard my knuckles turned white. I wasn't just a husband who got cheated on. I was a pawn, a mark. And suddenly, every sweet word she'd ever said to me felt rehearsed. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. You shouldn't have opened the box. I dropped the phone. Literally. It slipped right out of my hand and hit the tile with a crack. I didn't even bother picking it up right away. My brain couldn't keep up with what was happening. Who had sent that message? How did they know I'd opened the box? No one had been in the house except me. No cameras, no signs of forced entry. Just that single, chilling sentence glowing on the screen. You shouldn't have opened the box. I finally picked the phone up, fingers trembling, and typed back. Who is this? No reply. I waited 10 minutes. Nothing. I sent 3 more messages. Still nothing. It was like someone had pressed a detonator and walked away. I felt exposed, like I was being watched from inside the walls. By midnight, I had moved the box into the attic and locked it in an old filing cabinet, as if that would do anything. Sleep was impossible. I kept hearing footsteps that weren't there. I imagined Laurel sitting somewhere with that man from the photograph, laughing at me like this was all a game. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the one who had stepped into someone else's trap. The next day, Harper called again. I didn't tell her about the message or the box. I just asked, has anyone named Wyatt ever come up before? She went quiet for a full 10 seconds. Why are you asking me that? Because I think Laurel was involved in something serious. Something she kept hidden. Harper sounded shaken. Curtis, I don't know how to tell you this, but Wyatt isn't some new guy. That's her ex-fiancé. From years ago, before she met you. He was in a car accident. Everyone thought he died. My chest went cold. What do you mean thought? I mean the body was never found. His car went off a cliff. There was blood, but no confirmation. Laurel was devastated. But then she met you and moved on. Except now I knew she hadn't moved on. She'd been talking to him, following instructions, hiding parts of herself I never saw. And I was the perfect cover, the boring husband, the harmless distraction. Nothing about our marriage was real. It was just a smokescreen for something else, something darker. That night, someone rang my doorbell. When I opened it, no one was there. Just a small brown envelope on the welcome mat. Inside was a single photograph. It was taken from across the street. It was me holding the box. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with the photograph in front of me, the lights off, one hand on the back door handle like I expected someone to walk in at any moment. The picture was grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakably me. Same hoodie, same kitchen, same moment I opened the black box. Someone had eyes on me, and they weren't just watching, they wanted me to know it. At sunrise, I went straight to the local print shop and had a high-res scan made. I zoomed in on every corner. Tree branches, light poles, reflections, and that's when I saw it. In the window of my neighbor's car across the street, a blurry silhouette, holding something rectangular, possibly a camera. My neighbor had been out of town all week. So whoever took this photo wasn't someone I knew. I drove to the police station with the photo and the box in the trunk. I rehearsed how I'd explain it. My missing wife, the mysterious man from her past, the text, the note, the hidden envelope. But the moment I stepped into the station lobby, I froze. Sitting there, flipping through a newspaper like he had all the time in the world, was the man from the old photo. The scar down his jaw, the gold coin around his neck. Wyatt. He looked up, saw me, and smiled like we were old college buddies. Then, without saying a word, he folded his paper, stood up, and walked out through the side exit before I could even move. I bolted after him, but by the time I got outside, he was gone. No car, no footsteps, nothing. I didn't go inside the station. I couldn't. Not when the very person I wanted to report had just been inside the building, sitting calmly like he belonged there. I drove home in silence, hands gripping the wheel so tight they cramped. When I pulled into the driveway, the front door was wide open. My stomach dropped. Inside, everything was untouched, except the attic. The lock on the filing cabinet had been snapped, the black box was open, and all the contents were gone. In its place was a single item, my wedding ring. It was resting on top of a sticky note that read, "Now you know, but not everything." I don't know how long I stared at that sticky note. Now you know, but not everything. It repeated in my head like an echo chamber of paranoia. I picked up my wedding ring slowly, like it might be rigged to explode. The sight of it, this small, harmless symbol, made my stomach turn. I hadn't even realized I wasn't wearing it anymore. I couldn't remember taking it off. Had he taken it? Had Wyatt removed it from my finger while I slept? Was I even safe in my own home anymore? I didn't call the police. What was I supposed to say? "Hi. Someone left my wedding ring in my attic after breaking in and stealing a secret box my missing wife buried under the floor." They'd laugh or send me to a psych ward. No, I needed answers first. Proof. Anything. So I did the only thing that made sense at the time. I went to Laurel's old car. It had been sitting in her parents' garage since she got the newer one last spring. No one had touched it. I still had the keys. I figured if she was hiding things from me, she might have started earlier than I realized. Maybe something was left behind before she even started planning her exit. Inside, the car was dusty but intact. Old lip balm in the cup holder, a half-used parking pass on the visor. But when I opened the glove box, I found something that didn't belong, an unmarked flash drive taped to the inside. My heart raced. I drove home like a madman, locked every door behind me, closed the blinds, and plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. There were 3 files. The first was a video clip. I opened it. It was Laurel. She was sitting in what looked like a motel room, wearing a black hoodie and no makeup, looking directly at the camera. Her voice was low, tired, terrified. "If you're watching this, it means you found the box. And if you found out, I'm probably already gone. Wyatt isn't who he says he is. He lied to me for years. He made me lie to you. I thought I was protecting you, Curtis. But I wasn't. I was being used." She paused. Her eyes darted towards something off-screen. Then she leaned forward. "There's a second box. You need to find it. And you need to destroy it. Before he does." The clip ended. That was the moment I realized my missing wife might have been trying to save me all along. I watched the clip again. And again. Each time Laurel's face flickered across the screen, I caught something new. A nervous glance. A whispered breath. But it wasn't until the 4th time that I noticed it. The bracelet. Her left wrist. I had seen it before, years ago. It was silver with small, engraved numbers along the clasp. I'd always thought it was a design. It wasn't. It was an address. I dug through my junk drawer until I found a magnifier. 4218 73rd Street. Oak Hollow. A place we'd never lived. Never visited. But I looked it up anyway. It was a rundown storage facility on the edge of town, tucked between a gravel lot and a power station. No cameras. No gates. Just rows of rusted roll-up doors and a broken vending machine humming like it was haunted. The unit was easy to find. Number 14. Padlock still attached. But Laurel had taught me a few things during our camping years. How to pick a lock with a bobby pin being one of them. It took 20 minutes and shaking hands, but it finally snapped open. Inside was darkness and dust, and a single plastic container shoved against the back wall. I dragged it into the light and flipped it open. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Laurel, Wyatt, and other people I didn't recognize. Some taken in cars, others in alleys. A few of them looked like surveillance shots, like someone had been tailing these people for years. There were maps, circled addresses, even printed emails between Laurel and someone signed only as K. And then I found the second box. This one was smaller than the first. Wooden. No lock, just a latch. I hesitated. My hand hovered over it. Laurel had said to destroy it, not open it. But I needed to know why. Why she had run. Why Wyatt had come back. Why I had been pulled into whatever twisted game they were playing. I flipped it open. Inside was a single item. A flash drive shaped like a bullet. Under it was a sticky note in Laurel's handwriting. "If Wyatt finds this, everything ends." I took it, slammed the lid shut. But just as I turned to leave, I heard the soft creak of a footstep outside the unit. Someone else was here. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. That creaking sound outside the unit? It wasn't my imagination. There were footsteps now, slow, steady, circling the row of lockers like a predator. I pocketed the bullet-shaped flash drive, slammed the container shut, and crouched low behind a stack of paint cans that had been left to rot. The lock clattered to the ground as the metal door rolled up a few inches. I saw Black Boots step into the light. I knew it was Wyatt before I even saw his face. He didn't speak. He didn't shout. He just stood there, eyes scanning the interior like he already knew what I'd found. But I wasn't going to wait for him to make the first move. I flung the paint can toward the far wall and bolted out the side exit. He chased me, barely 5 steps behind, but adrenaline will do funny things to a man. I cleared the fence behind the facility, ripped my shirt on the wire, and didn't stop running until I saw headlights on the highway. I drove straight to Harper's. I didn't even knock. I walked in, bleeding, shaking, and still clutching that little flash drive like my life depended on it. And in a way, it did. Harper didn't ask questions. She just listened. When I finished, we sat in silence for nearly 10 minutes. Then she stood, opened her laptop, and said, "Let's find out what she died trying to protect." The contents of the drive weren't what I expected. It wasn't a list of names. It wasn't money. It was a series of recordings, secret meetings, hidden microphones, conversations Laurel had captured. Wyatt had been blackmailing people for years. Powerful people. Laurel had gotten in too deep trying to stop him, and when she realized it was too late, she planned to disappear. But she left me everything I needed to expose him. And I did. With Harper's help, and later, the police, we sent those files anonymously to 3 journalists. Within a week, Wyatt's face was all over the news. Arrests were made. People resigned. Laurel's name never came up, just the way she wanted. It's been 3 months since then. I still wear my wedding ring, but now it hangs from my rearview mirror, not my finger. Closure didn't come easy, but it came. And in the strangest way, Laurel gave it to me. She lied. She disappeared. But in the end, she saved me. So if you're still watching, I want to ask you this. Would you have opened the box? Or walked away forever? Let me know in the comments what you would have done when you saw that first sticky note.